Well, how you going? At the moment, we're looking at the Ceriatone JTM45. Is that what it is? That's good because it's based on the old M word 45, and it sounds a lot like it. Sounds really well represented, and these are all hand wired, made overseas, obviously not in Australia, and really great value. We've We've reviewed quite a few of these Ceratones, and all different, based on the copies of other amps, and they're all been very convincing. Alright, so having a look at it, they have no gain on them, or at least at this volume. Probably once you turn them up, they crank up a lot. At the moment, we've got a Les Paul, an Orville. That's an unusual one. Japanese. It's got a couple of interesting pickups, a Burst Bucket 2 and a PRS Dragon 2. It's a Burst Bucket 1. Okay. And this is a Paul Reed Smith Dragon Treble 2, if I get it right. Interesting. It's got a pretty good clean sound for a Les Paul. Now, this is not a really sweet, clean sound. This is more in your face, as you'd expect from a vintage Marshall kind of thing. It's in the middle position. There we are on the neck. Now, these amps, even on the clean, seem to be just on that point of breaking up. So if you dig in, it almost sounds like there's a bit of grit there. In the middle. When we were playing around with the tones, found it very, very versatile. So every time we turned one of the dials, it made a massive difference, and it took me quite a while to actually get in on the right tone. We've got a Celestion Anniversary 70 speaker here, and it's quite a good sounding box. In this particular case, we had to drop the mids quite a lot, and the bass quite a lot. It's got a really heavy bass, which is really nice. It's very full. So if you've got a guitar maybe with single coils, this will really fatten it right up. I'm a little bit perplexed on how the whole 4 inputs work. Each input's got a different tone, and it seemed to react differently with these 2 different volumes, and one's like a treble volume, and if you wanted that old vintage sound that really cuts your head off and really digs in, then you'd probably want to use one of the first inputs and use some of this treble, so it really does cut hard, like a very vintage. But this is where I ended up with it. We're using a Rat pedal down here, Proco Rat. Is this a Series 1 or 2? Series 2. Made in America. We're not using a lot of distortion on it, just a bit of a grit. Here it is here. And it was the best way to really show you where the amp really features, because this amp really tonally, in my opinion, is made for rock. So there you go. Really, this amp's just a good bass for whatever you want to use in front, whatever distortion pedal you want to use. If you want a real rock and roll sound, it's got a bit of grit to it. It's going to really punch through. You can get it a lot more cuttier than what I've got it. So whatever your favorite distortion pedal or your rack, this would be your amp. Not a super clean like a Fender, but clean enough and ballsy enough to be a real rock amp. And we could do a little demo here with the treble. So we can add this treble volume, and you can hear how much cut it's got in there. So if I was using the distortion, I can obviously add, that's adding hardly any in there. And each input seems to have its own tonal quality. Back over to this one here. And all of these seem to react in different ways. When I pull this up now, instead of cutting your head off, it still adds treble, but not as bitey. You hear it doing some crazy things in there with the mid-range. It's almost acting like a sweepable mid-range. Just a little. So I'm sure if you spend the time really playing around with it, you're definitely going to find the sound, the tone you're looking for. It's a good amp, and no doubt is going to be a great price because everything Ceriatone does is really good value.